meant so much to so many people. Since he died, people connected with New Internationalist, where he worked as an editor for 20 years, have been sending in their comments, and here are a few of them which give us a flavour of the person and the feelings that he engendered in people. David was a kind, caring colleague with a huge heart, a huge laugh, huge hugs, and time for everyone. A mentor, an inspiration, and a friend. A gentleman in the best sense, David was a true man of the people. He wore lightly and shared freely his considerable knowledge and wisdom. For us, the once younger generation of NI, David was a mix of father figure and guardian angel. He immediately took you under his wing and offered boundless, oceanic encouragement. David was an enviably fluent writer and an eloquent and persuasive speaker, who always sounded as if he knew what he was talking about, which generally he did. He was also unfailingly courteous and an infuriatingly good tennis player. David was always genuinely interested in what you had to say, genuinely believed that his colleagues were all equal, didn't just play lip service to this. He was a wonderful, genial, committed, intelligent and friendly person. At my interview, David asked, "Are you a passionate person?" I would come to learn that it was David who had the passion for justice, for a fairer world, that he showed in his writing, as well as as how he was. I remember being very envious of his deep, husky voice. I loved reading the issues of NI that he edited, hearing that voice as I read the words and imagining his wry smile as he made his argument. David was smart, supportive, flexible, engaging, and endearing. We put all that to the test by taking him to a friend's authentic Aussie barbecue. It was a riotous success, with David at the centre of hilarious banter on everything from football to radical politics. I remember David's warmth and ease when I was in Oxford in 1999, and he was very friendly to my old dad too. In his funny, humorous way, David often presented himself as something of a heroic failure. But he was so far from that in reality. Not only was he really good at what he did, he was successful in the way that really matters most, a warm, empathetic human being. David was always so positive and full of hope that you parted from his company feeling better about yourself and better about the world. So finally, David, thank you for being you and for giving all you gave. We miss you in so many ways, but your warmth, your spirit, your idealism remain alive in our hearts and in our memories.
I'm Chris, another colleague of David's at New Internationalist, and I'm just going to start by reading out the words of one of his closest friends, Richard, a Canadian editor of the magazine, who's been down to the moorings many times. People will have met him here, and there's a picture of him there. I'm glad to see a photo of Richard with David there on the wall. So he couldn't be here, he's in Dominica at the moment. He said, "Just a few words of sad farewell to my close friend David Ransom. David combined principle with humour, modesty with determination, liveliness with thoughtfulness, and more than anything had an overwhelming sense of empathetic decency. He was, in short, someone you could count on. He never took himself too seriously, commenting on how people's eyes tended to glaze over just when he hit full rhetorical flight. Despite coming from modest privilege, he always sided unapologetically with the underdog. He held amongst those he most admired Tony Benn and William Morris. He took great pride in the fact that, as with them, his radicalism deepened as he aged. He had many unusual skills, not the least of which was his masterful whipping up of a wonderful full English to start the day off right. He loved his daughter and his boat and all of us. Goodbye, old friend." Now, I write a tiny little column in the magazine each month which looks back on a past magazine, 25 years ago this month or 10 years ago this month, that kind of thing, looking for something interesting. Obviously, in the next issue of the magazine, I'm meditating on David. And in that very short space, I couldn't, it was very difficult to say all you would want to say in it. But when it came down to it, what I didn't want to point people, give them a link to any of his pieces of writings that were editorials about the state of the world somehow, though there were plenty of those that were well worth reading, that were brilliant in their way. The piece I remembered most, and that there is a link to it now, is something from 1991 when he took an epic boat journey up the Amazon. And I remembered how funny one of the episodes in that was, and so I'll just read you a piece of that. We talk about David's writing all the time, but there isn't any of his writing here, so I thought I'd just bring. It's it's played a bit for laughs, and it was in the context of a magazine that was campaigning on behalf of the poor in the Amazon, so you bear that in mind too. But a bit of David's self-deprecating humour wouldn't go amiss here today. Rubber smells. I'd say it smells of ancient cheese and sewers, but my companions insist it's the odour of unwashed human sex organs. There's about a ton of it, lying in enormous balls, I'm sorry to say, right across the floor of the boat, which is within an inch or two of sinking. The rubber is the same stuff I saw being sold at the Tappers Co-op, and we're taking it for sale to the processing factory in Cruzeiro do Sul. As long as we keep moving, the stench of the rubber is not intolerable, and it gives added points to the journey. By the morning of the next day, I'm getting just a taste of what it feels like to be a rubber tapper. The record in my diary reads as follows: reasons to be fed up. 1. Camera jammed following jungle jaunts. Is it taking pictures or not? 2. Cracked a rib. Despite Mari Nilsa's expert attention yesterday, searing pain if I try to move while breathing in. 3. This I can't avoid doing while clambering over rubber. Straighten up, bounce, strike balding pate on roof repeatedly. Redundant instruction book for camera placed inside hat for protection. 4. No tobacco. And no sympathy likely for this either. Large granny, only fellow pipe smoker met so far, has just enough for herself, wound round, curious bent sticks on which it's sold here. Damn. This is where the stuff came from in the first place. Wonder if there's any growing out there in the forest. 5. Heat, sweat, dirt, bites, hunger, headaches. 6. No hammock. Left on the Chico Mendes, the previous boat. The worst of these is the lack of a hammock. It's hard to describe how utterly lost one feels without a hammock on the Amazon. Nowhere to sleep, read, write, or just rest, and nowhere to belong. What's more, we don't travel through the night. We stop off at a rubber tapper's house. It's perched at the top of a bank, looking like an old garage on stilts, lit inside by oil lamps. There's no furniture. We sit around on the cork-like floor, some 16 of us silently eating another meal of rice and warm tinned sardines. The smells and grunts of domestic animals, I hope, beneath us rise up through the floorboards. Everyone repairs to their hammocks, slung like the cocoons of insects from the rafters, a testament to the strength of the house. In the lamplight, their bodies seem somehow stronger, smoother, more graceful as they prepare for sleep. The children are rocked vigorously in their mini hammocks and go to sleep immediately. If that is, they have a hammock, and I don't. Joao, the strikingly good-looking father of the large family, gives me his. But what will he do? Oh, he'll be all right. He'll sleep in his wife's hammock. But she, hugely pregnant, doesn't want to sleep with him. She gets out and stomps around, complaining bitterly about the gringo who's stolen her hammock. I swing in it, feeling like a complete bastard, gazing up at the pelt of what looks horribly like a freshly killed jaguar hanging from the rafters. Next day, things get worse. We leave one of our 2 motors with a new boat that's being launched for Macedo, and shortly after we've done so, the other motor stops. The skipper, whose name I can't catch, and he can't spell it either, repairs to his hammock with the 2 sisters, who both seem to be his girlfriends. He doesn't have a have, a spanner. Now, a skipper with no have on the Amazon is like, well, a gringo with no hammock. We drift helplessly in the dancing current. Alarm spreads through the boat. Joao takes charge. I'm not sure quite what danger we might be in, but the chances of reaching Cruzeiro in time to catch my plane seem as remote as we are. One passing boat ignores entirely our plaintive cries of "Harvey! Harvey!" And I write in my diary that the Amazon is full of bastards like me.
This old house once knew my children. This old house once knew my wife. This old house was home and shelter as we fought the storms of life. This old house once rang with laughter. This old house heard many shouts. Now she trembles in the darkness when the lightning walks about. I don't need this house no longer. I don't need this house no more. Ain't got time to fix the shingles. Ain't got time to fix the floor. Ain't got time to roll the hinges, nor to mend the window pane. Ain't gonna need this house no longer. I'm getting ready to meet the saints. This old house is getting shaky. This old house is getting old. This old house lets in the rain, and this old house lets in the cold. On my knees I'm getting chilly, but I feel no fear or pain, 'cause I see an angel peeking through the broken window pane. Ain't gonna need this house no longer. Ain't gonna need this house no more. Ain't got time to fix the shingles. Ain't got time to fix the floor. Ain't got time to roll the hinges, nor to mend the window pane. Ain't gonna need this house no